What's up, and welcome to First Geek 411. This is episode 256. I'm your host, Cameron Franklin, and with me, as always, from West Coast, Best Coast, is Emma. Emma, how you doing today?
I'm doing good.
RIP headphone users, maybe? It looks like it might have limited it. I'm not 100% sure.
Hi.
So we'll see.
Sometimes you just gotta let off a little steam.
Yeah.
And that involves mildly screaming.
Mildly letting out your barbaric yop.
I would like to rage. Yes.
So this week we are chatting video game news for all three consoles. We also have some Madam Web news. I'm so hyped for us to talk about this. And then we also got some rumors about an upcoming Mandalorian game from the makers of Titanfall and the Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order series. Before we get into all that, as always, you can find us on our social media as OneGeek411. Join that Discord server. Shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. Join us live on Twitch Monday nights around 6:45 Mountain Time and find the videos over on YouTube. You can also check out our Redbubble store. Emma, before we get into the news, what have you been up to?
Couple of things. One, one of my good friends did her dissertation update approval thing today, and I got to jump on the Zoom and listen to her presentation, and she got approved to do research, so that's very exciting. So I got to listen to her talk about how she was going to do research on like government policy in regards to like stuff in the Arctic, because
That's crazy.
Bordered by Canada and the US and a couple of other countries, Greenland, etc. Greenland, Iceland, I don't know geography. One of those two. Sorry, Ren. It's very interesting, very fascinating. Didn't understand a third of the things she said because science and smart words, big words. But she got approved to do her research, so that's very exciting. And I was glad that I got to support her. Two, in my time not applying to jobs, I've been playing Baldur's Gate 3.
Nice.
Three numbers, hard, 3, American, European, whatever. And I'm in Act 3 for my first playthrough,
Nice.
So a good chunk of the way, towards the end, solid ways into that. And then I started a second playthrough, that's a dirge playthrough. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's the Dark Urge playthrough, and it's a background that you choose when you first start, doing your character building, and it's your character has not a whole different backstory, but enough of a different backstory. It's essentially like the evil route in Undertale. So I have a good playthrough and a bad playthrough going on right now because I like to compare and see what the differences are as I'm playing. So I started that a couple days ago, and that's been fun. And I'm doing a Tiefling Paladin Oathbreaker. So I break my Paladin Oath in like the first 10 minutes of the game.
I have to say, Dark Urge doesn't seem conducive to a Paladin Oath.
Exactly. So, but it's fun if you go Oathbreaker. So, yeah. I also just have never played Paladin for anything before, and that seems kind of fun. So, if Baldur's Gate had the College of Whispers for bards, I would do my rogue bard multi-class for this that I have built for another campaign, because it fits her backstory and everything, but they don't have College of Whispers, so I'm doing something different instead. But anyway, I've been reading Invisible Life of Addie LaRue for book club, and I am obsessed.
So good,
love
right?
it. Cameron, you were mildly hoping that I would hate it.
Yeah.
And I do not hate it at all.
I mean, like, I want you to love it because Shanina and I both very much like the book. And
Oh,
so
yes.
that part of me really wants you to enjoy it. But for the sake of book club, which is objectively better when we hate the book, like,
I
it
could
would have been
play
awesome
devil's
if you hated it.
advocate.
Yeah.
I may just play devil's advocate for the sake of the book club, but I will say now I love the book.
Yeah. Schwab is an amazing writer. So
Yeah, it's great. I am much further along right now than I would have expected to be by this point. Um, and then last but not least, today is my nephew's birthday. He's 1 year old.
happy birthday, nephew.
Officially, we love you, Felix. Happy birthday. I hope you like your blanket that I spent hours on and learned a new skill to make. So, it's very exciting. He's officially 1 year old and he is running around on his 2 little feet with a double ear infection. So that's fun.
Oh no.
But he's doing good. So, happy birthday, nephew. I love you.
Hopefully he feels better soon.
He will. He's got all the medication.
For me, got a couple things. Number one, I unlocked a new hobby this weekend. And so I have talked about it before, I'm pretty sure, but I have been looking into starting mead making. And then this past weekend, I went over to my cousin-in-law's, who's been doing mead making for about 6 years. And so he invited me over because he needed to make more mead. And he also has kind of like leveled up his equipment. So like he had some other stuff he could give me. And so, or sell to me pre-owned, whatever. We'll figure it out. And so we made 14 gallons of mead, 2 of which I brought home and is currently fermenting in my guest bathtub and just chilling in there. But it was a lot of fun. Shockingly simple. Like, it really is basically buy the things, mix the things, let things sit.
Yep.
And that's like, it really kind of emphasizes how people just like accidentally figured this out because it's not that hard. And so obviously, like, you can do it better or worse. You can do flavorings and things like that. You can lose a batch. Like, mistakes can definitely be made. But it is basically just mix stuff and like keep a loose eye on it and make sure it's functioning. And so
Yep.
I'm really excited. So currently it's fermenting. That takes about 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks from what I've read, but it's kind of different batch by batch. And then once that finishes, I will, it'll be ready to drink. And so once that's done, I'll siphon it out into a clean container, let that sit for probably a couple more months. And then maybe like late April, early May, I'm going to start my next batch of mead. Some friends have honey have bees. And so they gave me some honey. So I'm going to get to use their honey to make mead. And so I'm very excited about that.
All the home resources.
Yeah. And so I'm, again, really excited for it. And then also this weekend, got some good gaming in. I've continued my trek through A Plague Tale Requiem. I was actually literally playing before podcast tonight. And so I'm on chapter 13, I believe, after 17. I'm trying to finish before the end of the month because I played the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demo. That comes out at the end of the month. 10 out of 10 demo. Highly recommend if you're interested in that game. It's basically just like the beginning of the game, which I love. Like, and if you complete the demo, you just skip that portion when the actual game comes out. Let's go. I'm in. And so super excited for all of that. Great being back with some of the characters. And I won't say all because, you know, go play the demo. But that was a lot of fun. Very cool. And then also this weekend, streamed my first play of Helldivers 2, the latest game that's been taking the internet by storm. Similar to Pal World, it's like this is a first-party Sony game. I believe that they are the publisher, but like the development team is like a smaller team. They were not expecting the success, and they have been struggling under the weight of the servers. And so shout out to them. I think it's Arrowhead are the developers. And so it's super fun. It's basically Starship Troopers the game, where like it's all about Super Earth, and we're bringing democracy to these planets. And the planets are like overrun by bugs or robots that are honestly just kind of minding their own business. But we got to expand Super Earth's democracy.
This just sounds like Star Wars from the government's perspective.
Yeah. Everyone's life is like super expendable. So like if you die, they just call down another person from your spaceship, and then that person is now the person like that you're playing as.
We're just trying to control the entire galaxy. It's no big deal.
And so it's been really fun. I'm definitely enjoying it. It seems to be pretty much once you get in the game, it's good, but it is hard to get into the game right now just because of how much they have going on with their servers. So again, props to them. They made a game that people want to play, and I hope that keeps up, and I hope that they're able to like keep players engaged long term. And so then got some tabletop RPG talk from this weekend. First up, after making mead, I swung by my LGS and I picked up 2 new core rulebooks. I posted pictures in our Discord as well. Well, Panda Boy. First up, I picked up the core rulebook for Candela Obscura. It is a beautiful cover from Darrington Press, the people at Critical Role. I haven't dove into that one yet, but I'm really excited about it. And then I also picked up the core rulebook for the Marvel Multiverse RPG. And so I have been reading through it. I'm about 60 pages in so far. And I got to tell you, Emma, I am so hyped to play this game.
I bet.
And so I was telling Emma beforehand, one of the things that I love is it's like a 300-something page book, and about 130 pages of it are just character sheets. So like here's Ghost Rider, here's Spider-Gwen, or Ghost Spider, technically. But like, I love that so much. And then like, you have to like cross-reference what the abilities are and stuff like that, which is fine. But I am really loving it. It also has some super cool art for the characters.
Is that Storm?
That is Storm.
I would play Storm.
And so I am very excited with this purchase, and I'm very excited to find some time to play. You can like create your own heroes, and it kind of walks you through what that would look like. And then it also, like as I was showing, has actual known Marvel characters that you can play. There are some like weird differences between it and other tabletop RPGs because like you don't really level up in this game.
Interesting.
And there's not really loot. Like it's kind of assumed that your character is a superhero and they have what they need to do their powers. And so it's like there's fun. It's just kind of almost like there is a campaign you can get that's Conquest of Kang, I think. But like you're not necessarily like looting people or doing stuff like that. It's very much like, hey, we're going to go here. We're going to stop the bad guys as this team of characters and stuff like that. And then like, instead of having a level, characters have a rank, but like most characters stay their rank, like just based on what their powers are. So like if you're a rank 2 character, which is like street level, like you're never going to become rank 6, which is like a cosmic level hero.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of an interesting like twist on it that I'm like, I would be curious to how that would go long term in a campaign. Like, would you get tired of playing the same character and never leveling up? Like,
I feel like it wouldn't be as fun long term because there's nothing to really work towards in terms of self-improvement. Yeah.
There's no reason that characters can't rank up. Like that is something that is like allowed in the rules. I mean, if you do like that, you can like start at rank 1 and then have like your character rank all the way through. So like that is definitely something that's possible, but it's just like not a core part of the system. Yeah. And so I'm just kind of like, again, I'd have to play and then have to play enough to see like when players get tired of a character, do you just switch to a different rank and they switch to different characters? Like, how does that work? I don't know.
Yes.
But yeah.
Correct.
So that is those RPG books. very excited to dive in and look at more. Very excited to play both of them at some point. And then finally, tabletop news wise, also had D&D this weekend, and I almost had my first TPK.
Oof.
I was super close. The only reason that they didn't get TPK'd is 2 players back to back had a natural 20 on their death saving throws and came back up.
Nice.
That I think
Nice.
if neither of them, or if either of them, had not gotten a nat 20, I think they would have all died. And then in the next battle, like literally the next one, another character went down on the first attack from an enemy, and nat 1'd their death saving throw, and so then they had to save that character. And so it's really interesting, just like that swing. And so Sneaky in chat says stupid swarm of snakes. Yeah. So they got hit with a swarm of snakes that dealt damage, and then if it hit you, you had to make a con save, and it dealt more damage. And then right after that was a giant scorpion that had a stinger, and if it hit you, you took damage. And then and so it, like, the scorpion one-shotted one of the characters. And so and then Sneaky in chat asks, are campaigns from Marvel meant to be short and sweet, or can you change characters more often? From what I've read, there's no reason you couldn't just change characters. So, like, for example, we could say, hey, tonight we're playing rank 3 characters. Everyone, here's the list of 130 characters. Pick whichever rank 3s you want to play. And then play those for a couple weeks, and then the next time come back and say, hey, we're going to change it up for the narrative. Let's actually go rank 6, and let's bring the crazy over the top characters. And then you could drop it down and do rank 1. Like, it definitely is built in. I know for the Conquest of Kang, it's like 6 different campaigns based on your rank. So I don't know if you could like play them one right into each other narratively, but like there's no reason you couldn't do that if you wanted to. Like, I just don't know if you actually like defeat Kang in like both 5 and 6. So like, but then again, multiverse. So like, you know,
chaos.
So yeah, so I'm excited. But yeah, I was very scared about what I was going to do for a TPK, because we were at like the end of the first story arc in D&D. And 1, I've never killed a character before. And 2, to go from having never killed a character to almost having a TPK, and then almost having a character die literally the next encounter, was definitely something narratively that like I was in my head like, okay, do we make a statue for this character? Like, what do we do here? Like, and so they ended up stabilizing. Everything was fine. But like, I was very much in the like, they were in a swamp. And so it's not like you're going to quickly be found and somebody could like potentially show up and save you. So yeah, I had no clue what I was going to do.
You become dog butter.
Yeah. Have you ever had a character die? Either yours or in a game you've been playing in a TTRPG?
No, because I haven't gotten far enough for that to be a possibility.
Valid.
Well, actually, I lie / forget. Technically, I died, but then I got resurrected at one point. So, like, I don't, like, count it as a full death because I didn't have to make a whole new character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. I have not had any of my characters die, nor do I think I've been in a game where we've had a character die. I'm convinced that Ezek is going to die in City on a Hill, where we're playing Pathfinder 2e. Go check out the latest 2 episodes that are up. By the way, I believe part 6 posted like a day or 2 ago, and so go check those out. But I'm convinced Ezek is going to die, just because like I do not have the health to be in the front line, but that's where this character wants to be, and so I am convinced that Ryan is going to either have to intentionally not kill me, or Ezek is going to die in this game. So So
The
we'll
chaos.
see there.
The
Yeah.
chaos that is that adventuring party.
Yes. Um, oh, I should also say, so in the TPK, they split the party. And they were like exploring these like islands in the swamp. You could walk to them, but they were dangerous terrain. And so they like split to opposite sides of the map. And so then one person, the person who was solo, ended up being with the snakes, and the people that were together ended up being safe.
Oof.
And so it was like I even like I did the DM voice of like, "Are you sure you want to split the party?" And they did, and I was like, "Okay." So never split the party, everyone.
Leviathans detected ahead. Are you sure what you're doing is worth it?
Exactly. Also, remember to take your short rests and heal up, everyone.
At which
it's very
point
important.
you say nope, and you turn around and swim away.
Yeah. Just keep swimming the other direction.
Swim away from the detected Leviathan. Swim away from the DM who says, "Are you sure it's worth it?"
But watchers, let us know. Have you ever lost a character in a TTRPG? What have you been up to this past week? We're excited to hear what y'all got going on, what you've been playing, those kinds of things. Let's jump into our news for this week for our first and I guess our main topic of the show. This past week, we have gotten some major news for all three of the gaming consoles and kind of what the rest of this generation will look like, slash other plans. And so we referenced a couple weeks ago, there had been rumors of Xbox games going multi-platform, and the internet, to put it kindly, went wild, lost their minds with what that was going to mean. And so Xbox this past week did a business update where they updated people on the business. Something that was really funny is I feel like a lot of people from the takes that I've seen like on Twitter and stuff expected this to be them announcing all of these plans and stuff like that, and for it to not just be shareholders calm down. And then when it was shareholders calm down in their business update, people were like, well, this isn't very exciting to watch. It's like, that's not the point is that it's not. They're not trying to like announce things. But some major news that did come out of it, though, is it was announced that there are currently 4 games that are Xbox first party that are coming to the other platforms. 2 of them are community-driven games, and then the other 2 are games that are at least a year old. And then for all 4 of them, these are games that Microsoft feels like are kind of tapped out on just the Xbox, and so they're going to explore putting them on other devices. We do not have the announcement of any of the games, but word on the street is, of course I said that, then immediately forgot what the word on the street was. It is Hi-Fi Rush, Grounded, Sea of Thieves, and then I can't remember the 4th one that people are talking about. And so, see, can I find it? A Pentiment. There we go. Pentiment is
Hi-Fi Rush to be on there, because that's what I would like to play the most right now.
Yeah. So yeah, those are the 4 games. Hi-Fi Rush, I think, is to me the most exciting one. I played that on PC via Game Pass, and it is such a beautiful game. It's so fantastic. I would love to get trophies on that because it also seems like a very easy platinum, and so I would love to go and play that on PlayStation. I know like Chunk really likes Sea of Thieves. That's probably not necessarily my jam game-wise, but I know that game has an audience. And then Pentiment is supposed to be really good as well, like history simulator RPG kind of thing. And so that game's supposed to be really good. But so those are the rumored 4 games. We'll get to this to Nintendo in a moment, but Nintendo does also have a partner showcase this week. And so rumor is that we will probably see some of these games announced at that partner showcase. We also got news that Xbox plans to continue the console experience and the only place for Game Pass. So probably no Game Pass coming to other platforms as people were thinking. Phil Spencer also said that he wants Sony and Nintendo games to come to Xbox, but he doesn't expect it. This is from Video Game Chronicles headlines, just as a breakdown, just for the record, which I feel like that's like saying, I would love other people to spend money so I have things. Like,
yeah,
it's not like there's like a port to Xbox button. So like it is work to bring those, like, and so not saying it wouldn't be financially worth it for games to come to more platforms. We saw that with MLB The Show that has gone multi-platform, but like, it's just really funny to see like, just like that comment is just such like a nothing burger of like, I would love it if other people would do this. GZ, welcome in chat, first time chatter. Phil was asking for Helldivers 2 already. Helldivers 2 is the type of game that again, that would make a whole lot of sense to put on as many places as possible. I have loved the Helldivers memes that we've been getting of all of the Xbox gamers waiting to come and join and help fight for democracy. So like A+ memeage internet. I'm glad that again, we're gathering around this game. But again, like small studio, we're already struggling under the weight of getting enough servers for people to play, like let alone to create the game to bring to a whole nother platform. So unless Xbox is going to like send resources over to them, like, again, it just seems like a nice thing to say. And then we also got the announcement that Diablo 4 will be the first Activision Blizzard game to come to Game Pass. I believe they said late March. I could have that wrong. And so that will start the, I don't want to say flood, but that'll start the flood of Activision games showing up on Game Pass for people. I'm very excited for that. I'm excited to play Diablo 4, hopefully via PC Game Pass. And very excited to not have to pay for that, but still get to have fun playing through the campaign. So with that, Emma, any thoughts on Xbox before we jump to the other consoles? The other ones I think will be shorter. So
really, I mean, obviously there's so much that, could happen with this, and this could go so many different ways that it's really just a wait and see. So, yeah.
And I'm sorry, my speaker cut out. I had to reboot it, so I did not hear what you said. So if you asked me a question, I did not hear it.
I didn't. Just that it could go so many different ways, and so much could happen with it that it's a wait and see kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. With that, let's jump to the world of Nintendo. As mentioned, there is a partner showcase this week. If you're watching this on YouTube, the showcase has already happened, so you know what was talked about there. But Nintendo did also have some rumors coming out that there was going to potentially be Switch 2 end of this year. And then since then, there have been reports from, they started with a Brazilian journalist, and then it was their name's Pedro Hernandez Luti Lippe. And then it was later corroborated by Eurogamer that that studios have been informed that the Switch 2 will not release this fall and instead is looking at a March release for next year. With that, Nintendo stock took a big hit, and Forbes, turns out they know things, accurately calls out a delay will likely be a major financial blow to Nintendo as the company will miss the important holiday sales period, which is usually the biggest time for game console sales. We'll put an asterisk on that of like Nintendo has never had trouble selling their console, but like
It's Nintendo.
Yeah, that I do broadly agree with that. I think people will tend to have less disposable income come that time of year. And so I'm curious to see what that will look like if Nintendo can manufacture consoles to meet demand anyway. Like that's something that we saw for both the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series consoles, where they both released in the fall, and neither of them really had enough to meet demand. Granted, you were also in the middle of a pandemic, but because of that, it didn't really matter. You kind of had to luck into finding one if you weren't able to get it pre-ordered. So, um, yeah, and so again, not necessarily anything else too serious to talk about there for Nintendo. Again, we'll see. Nintendo does have some games lined up for this year, but um, we'll see. A lot of people are talking about potential. This isn't even like a rumor. This is just people like stating hopes that we could potentially see Metroid Prime 4 finally release as like the bridge game that releases on both Switch and Switch 2. And or we could finally get a new Mario Kart, because the Switch Mario Kart that is like one of the best-selling games of all time is actually the Wii U Mario Kart. And so the Switch version is just the deluxe version that they've added more to and stuff like that, of course. But like we did not get a new Mario Kart for the Nintendo Switch. We just got the deluxe version of 8. And so people are saying that that could also be a new console. Seems like a great time to release a new Mario Kart. And then let's bring over into our final console for the one that we do both have, as you know, we have our beautiful Spider-Man. I'm very Spider-Man today with both shirt, hat, and console.
We love it.
Yeah, I have a theme. And so Sony had their financial call where they lowered their projected sales for this final quarter from they had hoped to ship 25 million consoles, and instead it looks like they're going to hit 21 million. And they also announced that they believe that the PlayStation 5 is in the latter half of its console life, which makes sense. Came out in 2020. It's now 2024. Console cycles are typically 7 years. And so it definitely seems like a accurate statement. And then they also announced that they would be, I'm going to get the exact quote, that they're planning to release, they weren't planning to release any exclusives from major existing franchises in the next 12 months in this upcoming fiscal year. So until March of 2025. And so that means that depending on how you define it, we would not be looking at Wolverine, assuming that counts as the Marvel franchise for them. We would also not be seeing the likes. I believe they explicitly said God of War in that as well. And so it makes sense. So we know they've announced no games, so we kind of would have had to have had a shadow drop. Again, as I say, as I've been wanting Wolverine to drop this fall and be their like surprise, here it is game. Give us like a 6-month window and then release it. But with that, we don't necessarily have we don't necessarily know much else that they have planned. Granted, they also, I assume, didn't plan on Helldivers being so big. So here we are. And so, and then I don't remember if I said, but with all of that, Sony stock did also take a hit. It fell as much as 8.4% and closed around a 6.5% drop. None of that's necessarily surprising, given the fact that it wasn't happy news in this, but kind of similar to the Nintendo thing, except this was actually Sony talking. So, Emma, what do you think about no new or no exclusives from major existing franchises?
Aww. But also, maybe they'll have something actually like a new franchise coming out that we don't know about yet.
Yeah.
So, I'm curious to see what that means on the positive side of things. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's very interesting that they didn't say no exclusives,
yeah.
but they specifically clarified both existing and major. So now
Yeah.
it becomes that really weird thing of like, well, what's a major franchise?
Yeah.
Because like we would assume like you have the likes of The Last of Us, Spider-Man, God of War, but is Ghost of Tsushima major? Like, is I'm gonna pick your favorite. Is Horizon major? Like, well, I
mean,
by no
I
means
would
think we're getting a new Horizon this year,
no.
but
No.
like,
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting to see because they did choose very specific wording.
Yeah.
With that. So,
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what that looks like. I have some good call outs from chat. I'm going to actually go backwards in the order that these were said. GZ comes in, no exclusives, not a big deal. That's why they were so smart to do third-party exclusive deals. Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the fact, there we go, that it looks like this could be Final Fantasy's year. Like, 16, while it did not, like, shake the world, many people did have to accept the truth that it was a very good game. And then this year, with the release of Rebirth, that will hopefully land. Like, that could be the major AAA game that releases this year, and then kind of keeps everything else, like, but in the conversation of, like, but is it a better game than Rebirth? And so we also have a handful of other ones, like, I think it's Stellar Blade, Rise of Ronin. There's a handful of other, like, third-party exclusives coming to PlayStation this year. Like, seems like a good thing. And then Sneaky says, after Broketober, I'm okay with games slowing down for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. As someone who's been playing through Plague Tale Requiem, which is by no means one of my favorite games, I would never have been able to play this last year because there was so much coming out. But this year, actually having the time to play a game that I like medium enjoy is kind of nice. Like, it's not a game that I always think about, but I'm enjoying the story. I want to get through it, but like, it's not like burning a hole in my brain to go and play. And so it's nice getting to have that. And then GZ also says, Nintendo needs a new Pokemon game to take interest off Palworld. Nintendo needs a Pokemon game that runs better than a slideshow. So,
yeah.
like, whatever that needs to
Nintendo needs a
look
lot of things when it comes to Pokemon.
Yeah.
So.
And so I mean, again, every time I call out Pokemon, especially, I feel like I do need to clarify. Coming from a place of love, I have my
all the love.
I have my Gen 1 Pokemon Blue right there. I have my Mewtwo poster behind me. I have 160 whatever hours into Pokemon Violet. Like, Nintendo needs to step it up, and I hope that that's the lesson that they can take from Palworld, is put some more resources behind whatever Pokemon company is doing so that we can get a Pokemon game that runs well. And speaking of which, I don't know where this came from, and I don't remember where I heard this, but apparently there's no formal agreement that Pokemon games have to be on Nintendo consoles or Nintendo systems. It's
interesting.
It's like a handshake agreement. Like, granted, I believe Nintendo does own a portion of the Pokemon company. So, like, there is, like, a vested interest there. But, like, apparently, like, one of the Nintendo heads confirmed that there's no reason that, like, a Pokemon game couldn't come out on, like, PlayStation. It just, handshake agreement has never happened. They've never felt the need to develop for other platforms. And I kind of see why that is. Obviously, all the Pokemon games sell bananas. Even when they're not the best. And so I'm really interested to what that could mean. Like, could we actually eventually see one come to another platform? We'll see if they're able to keep up the console hype, and so with whatever the Switch 2 Super Switch is. But that is our console news for all three of the major platforms. With that, let's jump to your piece of news, Emma. Is it exciting? Is it bad? Is it fun? It's one of those things. What do you got for us?
I've got that, to the shock of almost no one, Madame Web is doing terribly because it is a terrible movie. So bad that even if you've never made movies before or have ever been in the industry, you can tell that the bad guys' lines have been dubbed over from the English speaker and the same actor who had to go in after filming to re-speak his lines into a microphone, doing this thing called ADR. So in the final cut, you can sit there and tell that the lines the bad guy is saying are not the lines they got from production during recording, during filming. It is not the recorded lines. They were lines that were recorded in post-production, which is wild because the words you hear do not match up with the words on the mouth. That is how bad this movie is.
And I think, like, ADR is great. It's an awesome resource. There are so many movies that do it well.
Yeah.
But, like, it is bananas to me. Like, that from, I have not seen it, but from what I've heard and, like, kind of what you just said, that it just doesn't even remotely line up.
Yeah.
Like, that just blows my mind. And I think last I saw, budget for this movie was like 80 million, and it was sitting at like 26 million in the box office.
Yeah.
I saw an article today that was like, there's little hope for the Madame Web franchise. And I was like, that's putting it nicely. Have you seen any of Dakota Johnson's press for this?
No.
Okay. I'll try to find it and we can watch it in post-show chat. She did a interview where she is asked to name the other Spider-Man movies, specifically the 3 Tom Holland movies, and it is one of the best pieces of content I have ever seen. She also apparently has said that she never saw the movie, which is insane. Like, I don't know. I'm not invited to these things. I would like to be, but like, I've never been to a premiere, but my understanding is that they show the movie. So like, that would mean that she just didn't go watch it, which, like, her prerogative. Good for her. You live your best life.
She's gonna walk the red carpet and then go home and eat a tub of ice cream.
Like, I don't know. You do you, Dakota. Sneaky says, I read earlier that the amount of people demanding refunds is astounding. Like, it has, reviews are not everything. I often use the opposite of this argument to defend recent MCU. So just like as a call out there, this is a little bit of a logical inconsistency. But like, it is bananas to me that this is reviewed worse than Morbius.
Which is wild.
Right. Which is like Morbius was memed on for how bad it is, and it is bananas to me that this one, apparently rightly so, based on literally everything that I've heard from anyone that has seen it, this is even worse than Morbius. To the point that, like, I've heard people saying that, like, it's not even a fun bad movie to watch.
Which is the worst criticism you could get.
Sneaky says, even one of the Sony execs said, it's sad when we wish Madame Web had even Shazam 2 numbers. And this dichotomy astounds me. How is Into the Spider-Verse, or how are Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse 2 of the best superhero movies ever made? and Into the Spider-Verse especially, but both of them, arguably two of the best modern animated movies ever made, and yet they
And
cannot
then
do anything live action. Like, I just don't
no,
understand.
no. One of the link that I put in the show notes for this, one of the pieces of feedback from the article says, while AI is often criticized by a lot of people, it could have easily written a better script for this movie than the actual writers.
Okay. So I have a question for you on that as someone who has been around and is like, so one of my theories for this is this the movie that was written by AI that caused all of those clauses to be in the SAG and the Writers Guild?
Probably. This is
Like,
probably this. I mean, this probably wouldn't be like there's one project
yeah,
that caused all of that, but this is probably one of the ones that like caused those things to happen because it's the timing is matches up perfectly for
right.
all of that in terms of a general film production timeline. um
Yeah, because my thinking is
so
just as like no boogie boarding in the bar. Like, there's
yeah,
got to be something that causes you to need to put up the sign. And it
yeah,
really feels like this could be the, like, you were
very much
given a
one of those
script.
flaws that
Yeah.
goes, why do you have a law against driving a tractor while drunk and eating
Yes.
bananas? Like,
Like,
that's so specific that something must have happened
yeah. Who
with
ruined
a
this for
drunk
everyone
driver,
else?
a tractor, and a bunch of bananas. Like, this very, very much does feel like one of those.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I'm like super interested to like. I want to see the movie, the behind. Like I said before, I like behind the scenes stuff. I want to
Same.
see the official behind the scenes for this. Then I want to see the
The
investigative
actual,
reporting behind the
the
scenes for this.
actual behind the scenes.
Um, like I'm also fairly convinced that like half the people in this movie, just for, again, I have not seen it, but from what I have heard, like half the people in this movie have no clue what was happening in this movie. Like, apparently, and this kind of comes to like the ADR stuff that you're referencing. There
Yeah.
are rumors that apparently one of the Spider-Men were supposed to appear in this movie, and they were going to tie in based on the villain. They were going to tie stuff in with other Spider people, potentially Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire, and they like had to take all of that out, and that's why all the villains' lines where they monologue and explain their plan, that is why all of those are redubbed in ADR.
The drama.
Um, I just want to know. Uh,
I want to know all of the inside tea, all of the scoops.
yeah. Uh, GZ says many social media commenters said this movie was made to preserve the license for Marvel characters. Did they need them? Clearly, they didn't need these characters. Like, if they needed these, this would have been a decent movie. Like,
Yeah.
also
If
looking
they
at you,
actually,
fan-fortastic. But
if
like,
they actually wanted to preserve that license and, you know, make money off of it, they would have done a decent job with
yeah,
this. That's why, I mean, that's the reasoning behind why Disney is doing so many live action remakes, is to
yeah,
maintain the licenses of
yeah,
those movies. And while, like, people like myself go to those live action movies and go, I didn't enjoy that, they're
yeah.
still
It
decent
was
movies.
fine. Yeah,
It was fine. I went and saw the live action Lion King. The animated Lion King is, that and Finding Nemo are my two favorite movies of all time in terms of kids movies. When I saw the live action, I was like, well, I didn't like that,
yeah,
but it was still a decent
yeah.
remake.
It's good because the original Lion King is good. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like basically the same movie.
Yeah, it's like, and the reasoning for doing the live action was to maintain the licensing.
Yeah.
So it's like, if that was their true intention, which I'm sure it was part of their
Yeah, I'm
intention
sure that
for
was a
this.
major factor in them doing this.
And not saying it wasn't, but like,
Yeah.
had they probably had a failure of insight to go, hey,
Yeah.
if we're going to do this, we have to actually make it good, because if we want to make money off of it in the future through a sequel or whatever, if we make it bad the first time, people are just going to laugh us off and
Yeah.
not come see any other sequels or anything.
Yeah.
Because that's how it works.
And so we talked about this last week with Deadpool 3. It's a very interesting year where Deadpool 3 is the only MCU movie, but Sony is releasing Madam Web, Craven, and Venom 3. So, like, I'm really curious if when they greenlit these projects, kind of to Jeezy's point, to try to preserve their licensing, they assumed that like one of the other projects would get pushed back or something, but they needed to release a movie in this window.
Yep.
And so they're like, we'll just pick these characters, but like, again, I don't really understand. And so, then they call out that we're about to see a horror Mickey Mouse movie and a horror Winnie the Pooh movie. Disney failed to maintain the license. So that's a little different, admittedly.
That is different.
That's copyright versus license. And so,
yeah. And in those cases, they aren't a horror movie makes of the Disney versions of those characters per se. Yes, the Mickey Mouse is like Disney at its core, but it's Steamboat Willie, which is the origins of Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
And it's Winnie the Pooh from the books, not the Disney Winnie the Pooh that we know.
Yeah. So like this would be, because like again we saw this with Fox specifically with Fan4tastic, which similarly well received, where they, based on whatever licensing agreement they had with Marvel, they needed to consistently use the characters or the license would revert back to Marvel. So like that wasn't the Fantastic Four entering open or entering like public domain. That was just the license reporting back, versus Mickey and Winnie the Pooh that are copyrights run out. Those are now public domain. Disney could have continued to fight for that to be lengthened, like as they have specifically in the 90s was like one of the big times that they pushed it back for another 25 years or something. But
and even then, the way copyrights work, they can only be renewed and kept up for X amount of time, I think, before like it is required that at some point in the future they become public domain. So Disney couldn't hold on to those copyrights forever and ever. Amen.
Yeah.
I think
unless they get the law changed again, which is what they did.
Unless they get and I think it's a length of like 200 or 300 years.
I think it's 90
years or 90. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not a legal person.
Yeah, it's less. I'm 80% confident that it's less than 100.
Yeah.
So
there you go. I'm not a legal person.
Yeah.
But that's in part to help maintain. It has to do with creative license, and if a company were able to hold on to a copyright forever, then they could sue anyone for almost anything that they create, saying it's a copyright infringement. So it has to do with protecting and allowing other private individuals and incentivizing them to continue creating without the risk of being sued for their own unique ideas.
Mm-hmm. So it is 95 years. Yeah.
There you go.
So, and then apparently for like other works, I assume that are not like owned by corporations, it is 70 years after the author passes away.
There you go.
And so we saw that when we watched Enola Holmes back in the day, that like the makers of that movie were being sued by the estate, not because Sherlock Holmes wasn't in public domain, but because they were arguing that the specific representation of Sherlock Holmes was based on the latter versions that were still covered. And so, um,
I had to learn the basics of entertainment copyrights
yeah,
for my film production program, which would make sense, you
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So
It's such a huge mess, and
yeah.
I I don't really understand. I only understand the Legal Eagle video side of things. So go shout out to that channel.
I will. I'm gonna comment on one other thing.
Go for it.
Comment on the comment. I'm surprised Disney didn't go after the people who made Cuphead. That partially falls under this copyright discussion and partially falls under the fact that that sort of animation style is not Disney specific.
Yep.
It is era specific. So that animation style was not the Disney animation of whatever, the 50s,
Yep.
40s. Like lots of studios were using that animation style at that time because it was the only technology around. It wasn't that style wasn't owned by Disney, and all of the characters in Cuphead were created by that studio. So it's specifically in that case, the potential suable thing would have been the animation style and the art style, but that wasn't owned by any specific company because it is an art style that came about from just what technology was available.
Yeah.
So right now we can't copyright the way a car functions because there's only one or two ways that a car functions. Ford Motors can't sue Subaru
because they also have an engine. Yeah.
Because they also have an engine. So the way Cuphead was made, the characters were all uniquely made, and the art style and the animation style is just a callback. It's like making a black and white movie today. Yeah. They just decided to use that specific art style. This is me being a bit of a nerd about entertainment history because...
You're good. I went to what we had with Hasbro and the OGL, where like Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast cannot copyright you roll a d20 and do something.
Yeah.
But they can't trademark or copyright the mechanics. They can copyright the ideas. So that's why Pathfinder is getting rid of Magic Missile, and they're changing a whole bunch of stuff for their remaster to move it away from that verbiage, just to get away from any potential issues in the future. They want to
Ford
make sure that
cannot sue Subaru because both their cars have engines.
But if it was found that the engine was the exact engine, then that's when you have a problem. And so
if it was found that Subaru stole Ford's, blueprints for the Ford engines and replicated them, then yes, you would be allowed to sue.
Yeah. So again, back to Madam Web. We strayed a bit. Again, I want to hear the making of. I want to hear the behind the scenes for this.
Don't we all?
It is such a hot mess that I just want to know so much. I'm considering having some friends over once it hits streaming to do a Mystery Science Theater 3000 viewing.
Yes.
Where we just demolish this movie. And so, let us know. People, if anyone has actually seen Madam Web, please let me know what you think. Because I know a lot of people online that have seen it, but I don't know if I know any non-content creator people that have. No general public. And so if you have seen it, I really want to know what you think. And that will bring us into our last piece of news. We have been getting some rumors that the makers of the Star Wars Jedi as well as Apex Legends series, Respawn Entertainment, is working on a first-person Mandalorian game. It would be set during the height of the Empire, and currently it is just rumors or just reports, but I do also want to clarify it is a Mandalorian game, not a game about the Mandalorian.
Yep.
So, like, this does not necessarily, based on the reports, tie into the Disney Plus series. Although, could it? Maybe. But, like, it's not strictly like a Din Djarin game. So, don't expect to see Grogu. Also, that's with how it works out on the timeline. They wouldn't be working together yet. So reportedly, the player will take bounties for cash, and then you would have the Mandalorian jetpack as part of the game's high mobility, which would boast sliding, similar to that seen in Respawn's Battle Royale Apex Legends. It is also a fast-paced game with health regeneration upon successive kills. And then gadgets would include wrist rockets, grappling hook, and a visor for tagging enemies and bounties.
Nice.
And then, according to Inside Gamer, the game is not open world, but is made up of linear levels set across multiple planets, and there's no word of multiplayer. Then the Inside Gaming reports is that it's still a year or two away at a minimum. Let's go.
I thought we were doing.
Oh no, this is just me being hyped and using my hands.
I was ready.
And so I thought about it before, but like I only have like this window to do things with my hands, and so.
Fair.
In chat, Sneaky says, "I'm down. Gimme. I'm a sucker for almost any Star Wars game. No multiplayer, linear levels, not open world. Let's go. Like, give me an awesome. Oh, and it's supposed to be first person. I don't remember if I said that." But, like, give me an awesome campaign-driven Mandalorian game. I am all in. I want this so bad.
Yes.
Love the Star Wars Jedi series. Like, cannot wait for this. I want this game so bad. I want to see a trailer. I want to see this in motion. Like, as someone who never really liked Boba Fett and never really got the love from Mandalorians because I didn't like Boba Fett. Like, I gotta say, like, between the Mandalorian show, all the stuff that they were doing with, like, Rebels and Star Wars Clone Wars, which, like, I came into recently. I know this series have been going on for a long time. But, like, between all of that, the Ahsoka series, like, if this game is good and we're just continuing the Mandalorian hype, it might be time for me to 3D print a Mandalorian helmet. Like, I'm so interested in this game. Are you a big first-person shooter fan? I feel like I haven't heard you talk about that genre before.
First person, third person is when you're over the shoulder, and first person is when you don't see any of their body, right?
Yeah, you typically just see their hands, and so.
So the only first person I've played is the Borderlands games.
Okay.
And that is about it. So I haven't played Borderlands in a while. I don't mind it, but I like third person a bit better because I like having a bit wider of a view in terms of when it comes to like battle and stuff. I think first person view, it's really specific to the game in terms of whether I like it or not. And I don't think I can't think of any specific example where I hate it. I think it just more so ends up being where a lot of the games that I play end up being third person instead of first person.
Yeah. I'm very similar to you for that. I don't know if there's a single first person game that I would be like, this is one of my favorite games of all time. In fact, let me check my backlog.com/u/HumarWhittle if people want to friend me.
Yes.
And so let's go to my top lists, top games of all time: God of War, Last of Us, Elden Ring, Kingdom Hearts. Okay, I have Morrowind at my number 11 right now, Elder Scrolls 3, which technically you can play in first person or third person. I played it in first person. Um, and then I have Fallout 3 on here. And those are the only first person games I have in my top 21 games. So I am definitely a third person fan. Um, but I really like some of the like first person games that I've played. They're just by no means games that like really get in. Uh, as you said, I enjoy Borderlands quite a bit. It's similar to, again to what you said. It's been a minute since I have played any of them.
Yeah.
Um, but I do really enjoy those games, and so I would definitely be interested in that fast first person shooter style combat and kind of getting to see what that could look like. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. I just think a lot of the games I end up being more interested in are third person.
mm-hmm,
Not because I prefer third person, but it's more so like the storyline or the subject matter or the genre,
mm-hmm,
um, more so than whether it's first or third person.
yeah, yeah. And I think again, I think you and I are very similar. That we both like very character driven things,
Yeah.
and things that are character driven tend to be third person, and
Yep.
so that's kind of a big thing there. And um, so we'll stay tuned. We will keep an eye on this Mandalorian game. Man, I really hope this is good. I want this so bad. With that, we'll wrap up our news for this week as we gear up for post-show chat. Um, as Emma referenced at the top, don't forget book club for this month is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab on February 29th, so 10 days away. Get reading. Fantastic book. Cannot wait for us to talk about it. This is one of the only books I have ever finished and immediately wanted to read again. So,
As you should.
and so I am so excited for our discussion of that again on February 29th. And then, yeah, that's what we have for this week. We'll be back in the post show in a moment where we're going to watch Dakota Johnson try to name these Spider-Man movies.
Yes.
As we get into that, we are First Geek 411. You can find us on social media. You can join our Discord server, and you can send us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. Check out that Redbubble store. Watch live on Twitch. Check out our videos on YouTube where you can like, comment, and subscribe. That helps us out a whole bunch. Then you can also find us on our personal social media. Mine is Himar Whittle.
Mine is am not prepared with an eye in the prepared.
And it's been a great week.
Eat some cheese.
Play a TTRPG.